Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever it is that you're choosing to tune in to Life Lessons. Glad that you've joined me again this week. Out on the bike again today. Beautiful, beautiful day. Sun's a little warm, but it's been hotter today. Today's just kind of a beautiful day to get out and ride. Just couldn't resist it anymore. So I'm glad you're along with me today. If you've been keeping up with the news, you've undoubtedly heard about the tragedy in Texas along the Guadalupe River, and then just most recently, that happened on Friday, July the 4th. Well, actually the 3rd, 4th, and they still haven't recovered all of the bodies. I'll put up on the screen here the most recent tally of those that have been found. It just seems like there's no end to what's happened there. And then I heard yesterday or today, either one, I heard about a flood in New Mexico. Just unreal kinds of stuff going on. But I think what makes the incident on the Guadalupe River more pronounced is all of the children that were involved there in that I believe it's called the Mystic Youth Camp. It's a Christian youth camp there on the Guadalupe River, and the hundreds of people that were lost their lives there, and particularly children. I understand that the ages there were from 7 to 17. Some of the children made it out, some did not, and I just cannot imagine the depth of pain and grief that those parents must be facing. Sending your child off to a Christian camp, they're going to learn about God, have a good time, have a wonderful time with their friends, and then all of a sudden this happened, and it came on so sudden that they were not able to get out of the way. And I know there's a lot of finger pointing going on, and I'm not going to get into any of that because that's not the real issue here. In light of that particular incident that's happened, and I don't know about you, but I've been kind of glued to the TV and watching YouTube and getting all kinds of updates and seeing what all the devastation is there. And I got to thinking about that as far as what's going on there, and the question that keeps arising, and I think it's a pertinent question. If God is so good, then why does life hurt so bad? If God's so good, and He does all these wonderful things, why does life hurt so bad? Why is that? And I guess there's a lot of answers, to that, and I guess a lot of opinion to that. But I want to just kind of discuss that with you a little bit. When you look at that, and you feel the pain that is going on there, you hear the stories of people and losing everything. I mean, losing everything. Shop owners, the children. I think the director of the camp lost their life in trying to rescue the kids. Story after story after story, and you begin to empathize with what's going on there. It's just horrific. And so the question has to be asked: if God is so good, then why does life hurt so bad? Why? Why are these things allowed to happen? So I want to say, first of all, I just can't it's hard to identify riding my motorcycle on a beautiful day, and knowing that just a few states over and down, the horrendous kinds of things that even the rescuers are seeing, having to dig away all kinds of pile of stuff and finding bodies, and it's just horrendous. So one of the things that this channel is about is applying Scripture to life events. Okay, that's why I call it life lessons. Applying Scripture to life lessons. And one of the things that I want us to think about here is that the ache that life brings is real. I know that sometimes you and I can become so detached because it's happening in Texas and New Mexico, and here we are in Middle America, living our life, going to work, doing our thing, and we become kind of detached from what other people are experiencing. The loss, the heartache, the disappointment, and dare I say anger, even at God. Again, if the question we're posing, if God is so good, why does life hurt so bad? And so sometimes it feels like, literally the ground on which we're standing is going from underneath us. It's just falling away. Those kids were having a wonderful time at camp, learning all about Jesus, learning about God, all of those things, and then all of a sudden, literally, out of nowhere, this 30-foot wall of water descended upon them. It's just unreal. So this is where you and I, if don't think that something like that can't happen to you and I. Oh, it may not be a flood, but it may be something else. An unexpected, medical issue, some kind of diagnosis, earth-shattering diagnosis, unreal, just unreal. And so when you think about that, think about, my goodness, real life, living life, it hurts. It aches. Deep down in our soul, it aches. And so that, unfortunately, that's the reality of a fallen world. Secondly, when you look at it and trying to answer this question, if God's so good, why does life hurt so bad? I want you to think about the fact that God's goodness isn't canceled by our suffering. God doesn't stop being good and wonderful and marvelous and a healer and gracious even in our suffering. And there's person after person after person that we're taught in Scripture. I think the most obvious one is Job and all that he went through, losing everything he had, and the people that he loved, and yet God was teaching him something. So God's goodness isn't canceled because we're suffering. The reality, guys, is that we live in a broken world, a world that groans because of the pain that people suffer. Whether it's where you live, or the people you know, or in Texas or New Mexico, people that we've never heard of and that we've never met. So remember, when you go through a thing, or you watch on TV and you see people going through whatever they're going through, just please remember, God's goodness isn't canceled by our suffering. The third thing that I think comes to mind here is that God understands our suffering. God understands our suffering. He's been there. he knows what it is. He watched his son suffer and die. Jesus suffered and died. Jesus felt all of that. In fact, Scripture tells us that he felt all the things that we feel, yet he was without sin. And so, understand that God understands suffering. He lived it. Jesus suffered deeply. The Bible tells us that. Can you imagine having spikes driven in your hands and in your feet, crown of thorns on your head, being rejected and mocked and ridiculed, made fun of? And so when you're going through a tragedy, or you're watching a tragedy unfold like in Texas and New Mexico, understand that God knows what suffering is about. He understands what it is because he has experienced it. And I think number 4, as I thought through this, number 4, and this is a hard one, okay? Pain has a purpose. Pain has a purpose. Think about just your own body, and your muscle aches, or you have a toothache, or your head aches, or something aches. It's your body telling you that there's something wrong, something not right, something needs to be changed, something needs to be addressed. Well, pain can be a great teacher. Do I want it? Absolutely not. Can I embrace it? It's very hard. It's very hard to embrace it. So when you and I are watching things like what happened along the Guadalupe in Texas, and then the most recent thing in New Mexico, pain has a purpose. Pain can, and even when you're seeing others go through pain, it can have a purpose for you. I've often said, you've heard me say in these podcasts, if you're not going through a thing, just hang on. Eventually you will. Eventually you will. Okay, so your pain has a purpose. What God is going to teach those people who've experienced loss, I don't know. I don't know. I cannot fathom losing a child. We've been blessed in a way that we've never experienced that. Don't want to experience that. I just have trouble identifying with that kind of loss. But I do know this: God has a purpose in it. Whatever that purpose is, God. Now there are those, and I want to say this very quickly, there are those who will make the statement that it's God's judgment. Nothing could be further from the truth. God does not intentionally inflict pain on children and loss on families like that. So anyone who says that or teaches that is not teaching Scripture. They're just not. It may be their own way of interpreting it, but that's not what Scripture teaches. So pain has a purpose. And finally, you can be hurt and still have hope. You can be hurt and still have hope. As difficult as that loss may have been, as hard as it may have been, and as hard as it is, it will be felt for a long time, particularly those who experience the loss. There's still hope. And the hope is that all believers will be reunited with their families at some point, and that God is a God of comfort. Paul teaches us that in 2 Corinthians, that God is the God of all comfort, and He comforts those with the comfort that He has, so that we might be a comfort to others. So you might be asking, well, what can I do? Well, there are organizations that you can give to. Be careful when you do that, or as you do that. Certainly you can pray. And that's not a trivial thing. That's not hyperbole. That's not just cliche. Pray for those families that they would reach to God for comfort, for assurance, and for healing, and that God would surround those families with people who care, people who love them. I heard, I think it was yesterday, the governor say that he is making available, or the state of Texas is making available counselors from all over the United States, and that they are briefly interrupting all of the red tape that goes along with getting licensed in another state. They're foregoing that, they're waiving that, which is a tremendous thing. They're going to need therapy, they're going to need counseling, they're going to need Christian counseling to help them walk through this. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. It has touched my heart watching, what's happening. Maybe I'm watching too much of it, I don't know. Watching what's been going on there, feeling, every time they do an interview, and you hear the hurt being expressed by all of those people, it's just unreal. It's just unreal. And thankfully, nobody has, and maybe this is intentional on somebody's part, but I have not seen any interviews, whether with the mainstream media or with YouTube, the online media, but families have not been doing interviews. And can you imagine trying to do interviews? Some of the bodies that I'm told through a news report, some of the bodies haven't even been identified yet. I can't imagine that. I just simply can't imagine that. So you can certainly pray, you can give, hug your kids a little tighter, love your family a little more, because you never, ever, ever know. You never know what's going to happen the next day. Sent my kid off to Christian camp, and I've done it before, and all of a sudden this 30-foot wall of water comes up, and my children, think about the guilt that would be there. It's just incredible. So I know this hasn't been maybe, the podcast that you wanted to hear. Maybe I thought it was necessary. I wanted to come on and share my thoughts regarding what's happening in the real world, and hopefully that'll inspire you a little bit more as well. So I want to thank you for riding along today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back right next week. We'll be right back here, either on the bike or in the studio, sharing another life lesson with you. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in.